So how about I begin with a very joyant and a jubilant hello and welcome to all my good friends out there in the trader universe, or just my friends in general. Anybody out there in the universe who decided to come by and watch this video today, I do appreciate that. My name is Doug with Trade with Doug, and today I have a very special surprise for you guys. As you know, I am a man of many surprises. And when you read the title to this video, it said this stock will bounce, as in singular. But not only am I a man of surprises, but I'm also a man of value. And I want to give you guys the max value. So I'm not just going to give you one. I'm going to give you two stocks that I think will bounce here in the coming days. So be sure to stick around for that. As always, if you guys need help with your personal trading, somewhere here on the screen will appear a link, or it'll be down in the description box. Follow it and trade with me live. Now, these stocks right here that I'm looking at are intended to be swing trades, which I want to hold these for the next 3 days to 3 weeks. It all depends on how the market works, how the stock works, and how well it behaves as to the hold time. But I think I like the setups that I'm looking at here, and I want to enter some positions here early in the week on these two stocks that I'm talking about. So what is the first stock? Well, you'll probably already know. It's on the top of your screen. It's the Overstock OSTK. Now I'm going to walk you through these step by steps because maybe some of you are advanced, maybe some of you are new, but I want to just kind of let you know my thoughts and feelings here about this and what I see, and we can go from there. Now, when you look at Overstock, the first thing you realize is this is a stock that has the potential to go parabolic because it is a chronic parabolic stock, and it's done this before. In fact, it just recently went through a parabolic move, or this really aggressive, stretched out run up. Now, why that's important to a lot of traders out there, for you new traders specifically to understand, is once you're a Momo stock or a momentum stock or a parabolic stock, you're always sort of in that cult group, or consider that you can always go parabolic again. So when traders see that, they'll remember, oh, that stock went vertical a couple of months ago or a couple of years ago. Maybe it will do that again. So for example, recently we've obviously had GameStop, GME. So you can always expect that every time GME goes parabolic or starts an intraday squeeze, that everybody can have reminiscences of the 500 run from 800 to 500. And that's always what they are, sort of like a cult stock. Once you're a Momo, you're always a Momo. So Overstock has these periods of time where it in fact will go parabolic, and it will stretch its legs and have these incredible runs. Now, whether we're going to be able to catch one of those is another story. It also has a history of A-framing, which I call is like this. You go up and then straight down. It's like an A-frame house, right? And you're sort of in that process, well, you are in that process right now, where you're coming up, straight up, and then straight down. Now, there's two ways to look at this trade right here. You've got some consolidation. I want to open up this chart just a little larger here so everyone can see it. Okay, because here's where we are right now. You can look here. We've got some consolidation, like a little rounding bottom right here, and this stock is trying to work its way up from here. Now, when you look at something like this, to me, this is not a support level of high validity. And if I can kind of break that down into layman's term, if I could do this on a scale of 1 to 10, let's say, I would give this support level right here where we're sitting. I'm sorry for this penmanship. I can't even write with a regular pen. How am I going to do it with a mouse? I would say this right here where it sits is probably on a scale of 1 to 10, if I have to rate it, about a 6. It is a level. It is a level that the market is using. It is a level that the stock is trying to build on, but it's not really a relevant level in past terms. Now, one thing that's important when we talk about support and resistance is the further that we go back in time, or the more an area has been defended price-wise, either resistance or support, the more important that number is. So what does this mean? Well, you can take the trade here with a simple, straightforward long and a stop right here if you choose to, but it might be a trade with a lower percentage of win, or you might have a higher percentage of being stopped out. Why is that? Well, because this support itself may not, any support may or may not hold. You know, any of them could break if they want to, but the chances are of the validity of that support, the strength of that support, because I would gauge it as maybe as a 6, maybe even a 5, has to be taken with a grain of salt, if you follow what I'm saying. So you could do that straightforward. However, you have a far more interesting level of support right down here if you take a look. You have a couple of areas right here in this zone where it's been defended at 2 separate times. Now, in the ideal trading world, What you could do, obviously, or what you would like to see is for this thing to trade right back down here, make a complete A-frame out of this, and get into this major levels of support, which I would probably rank like on an 8. So you have that there, but you might not get it. So what do you need? When I see a chart like this, what I prefer to see is a level get taken out. Now I want to open this up and show you what I'm talking about, because we're dealing with a little piece of a range. So one little thing I like to do is put these little range areas in boxes. So if we kind of put a little box right here, we're currently kind of like moving in and out of this range over the last 3 days. Again, a very small, undesirable, I don't know want to use the word undesirable. Let's say it's just we can't really trust it in this area, but we do have this nice little box formation where the market's trying to draw some support and try to bounce here. What I normally like to see, if it's not at a solid, validated area of support, I want to see this thing break free of this upper range here. Because, at some point in time, it doesn't, I'm just looking here for a long bit. Let's talk about you guys that want to short. Let's talk about other kinds of variations. At some point here in the near future, you will either get a move above this shorter range, or you're going to get a move below that range. At that point, what's most likely to happen is this asset stock here is going to explore another area in this chart. So either if it breaks out, it will start working on these areas up here, or if it breaks down, it's going to start working on these areas down here. Hence why if you bought it right here, you would have to, I would think you would need to use a stop here. You would absolutely need to use a stop. Otherwise, chances of you dropping down in here into these 50 areas is of a high probability, and then you could just see if it'll bounce again. But if it does, I'm kind of looking for that standard check mark of either pulling in here and then bouncing, or it's either going to happen down here. Either one of these are fine with me, but in order for me to buy it here, I think I want to see it squeeze just a little bit over top of that level. Then I'll feel that this is the bottom that the market has chosen. If not, and it sells off here lower, I would actually feel better about that, because I'd be more convicted. My level of conviction would be much higher down there. Case in point here, watch this overstock. I think nonetheless at some point here, guys, in the next few days, few weeks here, you're going to see a pretty strong retaliation, or at least if something else, a decent little bounce out of this. If nothing else, a panic bounce. Maybe it makes it all the way back up here into the hundreds. I don't know. For me, I look at one level at a time. If it does bounce and it begins to bounce, then we can think about those higher prices later, what we're going to do. But just keep your eye on it. I think you have a nice kind of pattern and repetition here, up and down, up and down. You got a nice little peak here. Really, really close to some major support. So let's just kind of watch this one. Now, I think this next one I'm going to mention is one that we talked about maybe in the mutterings. I can't remember. I know I've talked about this a few times, which is Zillow. You can see the same kind of formula here, where you have the recent parabolic stock. This one's actually been in a very, very nice uptrend for a long, long period of time, super bullish. And then you have what you call is your standard blow off top. Now, if you're brand new to trading, what is that? That's sort of like where two groups of people meet at the same time. That's where shorts capitulate on a trade, and then buyers chase the trade, and everybody dives in at the same time, and you get FOMO and it chases in a roundabout way. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but that's what it means. So when they blow off again, you have another standard A-frame style chart. These are normally the best ones to counter. These are normally the best ways to get in entering a stock, because you'll often see these things pull down and bounce. Now, we recently took one here with RDFN. I think this would be a good chance for me to show you what something may look like. RDFN is in the same sector, and I'm a little bit more enthused about the sector of Zillow than I am with Overstocks. But let me just talk about this RDFN. It's in the same kind of space here. And I want to show you what this looks like here, guys, where you have this extended parabolic run right here. Then you pull back, you build this support base, and then you make yourself a really strong move up to the highs. I'm kind of expecting something like that here in Zillow. I'm expecting it to do something very similar to this RDFN, and kind of looking at this RDFN, maybe it finds support down here, and we can take a look at that one later, but it's not ready. Let's just get back to the point, okay? So Zillow here, I like this sector. I think it's strong. I feel that with interest rates will remain low regardless of what the yields look like right now or the bonds. I think you're going to see that rates remain zero. I think the Fed is no possible way going to raise rates, would destroy this recovery that we worked so hard for here. And I think, the real estate market's going to continue to flourish. Now, companies that will benefit from that are ones that will make that transaction seamless and easier and more efficient and easier as time goes on. Now, I think you have something like that. And my only issue here with this one, I want to open this up, is I missed the beautiful entry on this because, as you can see, it already held that support and then it took off. So if this was the imaginary box that we're drawing, it's already moved up above that. So I wish I was actually already in this thing roughly at about right here. Would have been a good enough entry. Stop right below. So when you're looking at these, here's what I want to highlight. Sometimes when we look at supports and resistance or numbers, when we look at technical analysis, we often have this need to be perfect in every situation, and it's not going to be like that. Just like we were talking about overstock, where you would think in the perfect world you would be able to challenge these very credible areas of support and make this, let's say, a perfect 10 type of trade where it was just perfectly set up the way you wanted it. Sometimes they don't do that, okay? Sometimes the market just pulls a number and decides. They could have said, okay, well, that used to be the previous support, the previous resistance back here. And maybe that's what it's doing. I mean, you can always draw a level there, but this is what the market dictated. It found support there and it pulled up here. I do like this one for the full check mark to come back in and start getting back up here towards the 208s. But I would like to see a couple of sideways days just for this reason. I want to make sure that this current bounce right here, that it's made from the lows, is going to hold. So what am I saying is, if in a couple of days, say 2 days, the stock is still trading within this range right here, I'm now making a humongous mess, then I would be inclined to go ahead and take it. You can either put a stop here, or you can trade small enough and just prepare to go all the way down here. I mean, to each his own. There's no right or wrong way to do that, just as long as you prepare in the beginning. Now, if this thing turns around in the next day or so and just dumps like this, I would not buy this. If there is an aggressive follow through, just because here you've already had a bounce here and it was followed by an aggressive follow through. If you get a really strong aggressive follow through that takes out this range, do not buy this. Just wait till you get down in here, because chances are you probably have about an 80% chance that's where that thing's going to trade if it's an aggressive reversal in that area. But I'm looking for this thing to come up here. So you have two stocks here that have this traditional A-frame look to them, straight up, straight down, and you're probably due for some sort of panic bounce or some sort of knee-jerk bounce off of that. Now, whether we trade back to the deviation of all-time highs on these, I don't know. Maybe you need a little help or nudge from the market, but first things first, I think you have some high-quality risk versus reward setups in both Overstock and Zillow. So I would expect sometime during the week here, I'm doing this on a Tuesday, so sometimes during the week, you should see these tighten up, build some solid levels, and I think you have good risk to reward here, and I'd like to enter these and see if in the next week or two, these things can start working their way back up $15, $20 a share here. So anyway, guys, jot it down, keep track, trade them yourself, whatever you decide to do. Did I leave something off the table? Ask a question. That's what I'm here for. Again, I want to thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you learned something. As always, feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions at all. Until the next video, guys, take care, trade well. Talk to you soon.